So in this tutorial, I'm going to draw a dinosaur. Okay. Now, I figured I'd also, instead of just drawing the dinosaur, I'll also show you how you could take into consideration different concepts as you go through a drawing. So for example, what I mean by that is, if you're doing a drawing, let's say of a dinosaur, right? A little T Rex I'm going to sketch out here. Now, there are different things that you're taking into consideration as you start working on it. Okay. What do I mean by that? For example, you have to take into consideration proportion. You have to take into consideration structure. You have to take into consideration light and shade, and in this case, you also have to take into consideration the texture. Okay, like the texture of the skin, and so on and so forth. Now, your job is to put all of those things together seamlessly, and also to think about them seamlessly. Now, what I'm going to do for you is to show you that while you're working on a drawing of something like this, you are incorporating all those things like I'd mentioned in the tutorial when I went over the stages of a drawing, okay, where you have the sketch and then the proportions and so on. And I'm pretty much going to be going through all those, but I'm also highlighting how you would address certain things in a drawing as well. So for example, in drawing a dinosaur, of course, you're thinking about, you have to address issues of proportion. And that, what I mean by that, how does the different parts of a dinosaur relate to other parts? So for example, if you're drawing a dinosaur, well, a T Rex in this case, okay, the major mass, the largest part, has to do with the torso, right, the body. Now, and what I'm doing here, I'm not thinking about structure. When I say structure, I mean the three-dimensional forms. Looking at it in a three-dimensional way. I'm not thinking about that now. What I'm thinking about is looking at it in a flat sense, just in terms of size of parts in relation to each other. Okay. And then of course, I think that the extension after the body, you have you have the head or the neck extending from that body. So you can have a shape like this. All right. Then you have the head. The head is pretty huge as well. Of course, it can vary in terms of how they, the position and so on, but I'm just going to do it in a profile view so you kind of like see how I would sketch it out. So you're seeing how I'm starting it out here. Okay, I'm just starting with basic shapes. Let's have the head kind of, it's like elongated like that. See, I'm not even thinking about the details, I'm just thinking about the proportions. See, and as I make this, I'm also extending this to adjust to this, okay, because the body has to maintain a certain proportion. And of course, the next part is the tail. And you can just think of a cone or a triangle. Let's just say it's like this for now, okay? Then the other larger mass is the leg as it extends from the torso. So let's say we have something like that, okay? So what I'm doing here is I'm just getting a sense of, okay, proportions, all right? How do we think about aspects or issues of proportion? Okay, the feet down here and so on. So this is something that you should always establish first and foremost in your drawing. And of course, the mouth is really just, a series of lines of balance. That's pretty much what it is. I'd say you can have like one like that. Yeah. That's pretty much what it is. Whether you want to have the mouth open or closed or whatever, it's really up to you. All right. The head here, the little orbital bone that projects upward and so on. I'm not addressing issues of texture or form or anything. I'm just thinking about proportion here. Okay. And it's important to keep that type of attitude when you're drawing. Okay. Now, of course, I'm not saying you should only think of proportion. Okay, I'm just saying I am addressing or focusing my attention on proportion. Now, the thing is, this is a flat shape. See, it's like, for example, thinking of a square. That's a square, right? And this is a cube. So, in this case, I'm thinking about form. This is just a flat shape. We're not feeling volume. Whenever I say structure, I mean we're going into this mode where we're beginning to think about volume. Now you're thinking 3D, front, top, side, okay? So in taking this from just being flat to three-dimensional, then I would start addressing things like removing this from just being a flat shape like this to a three-dimensional one, like so. See, so now I'm thinking of this as a ovoid form, like an egg-like form. See, now I'm thinking about structure because I'm thinking about volume and how does this leg attach. That's form. See, that's form. And then when you address form, you can easily move from here and start thinking about light and shade, because you cannot think about light and shade unless you first thought about what is the form of this object or thing I'm drawing. So here, just by thinking of this, now I can think of, okay, how I'm going to shade this thing. See, now you've moved from form and now you're incorporating light and shade. You see? So I'm saying the light is coming from, just by doing this, I'm telling you that I'm saying the light is coming from up top. All of here is in shadow. See that? This is like a cone. See? So the light source is coming from up top, like that. That's the light, okay? Shining down. So up here is in light, facing the light source, and down here is in shadow. It's facing down. Here is facing away. Here is facing up. Here is facing down, and so on. And see, and that's how I'd move through the drawing in a conceptual sense. But as I draw, you may not see that because all these ideas and concepts are being fused into my drawing, and all you're seeing is the product. That's why good instruction should provide some insight on what's going on in the artist's mind as he draws, and not just give you the product, but give you some conceptualization of what's going on. See? It is after this that then I would start considering texture. So then I would address, the scales and, whatever the texture is that I'm going to apply. But I may do it in a concerted way where everything fuses together. But the thing is, texture always obeys light and shade. So for example, if you're applying texture to something, the texture should show less in areas of shadow and more in areas of light. But in the direct light area, like up here, because up here is facing the light source directly, the texture would be a little bit bleached out. Okay? Texture shows best at this area, right here. Here is where you see texture the strongest, in areas of the border between light and shade, right here. This is where you see texture strongest, right where there's the border between light and shadow, like along this line, and along this line. Those are the areas where you see texture show the strongest, and that's on anything in general. And you'll see how I'll apply all that to this little drawing here. So let's just start going in, right? Kind of like outlined it here. So let's just say, okay, I'm going to start getting a sense of where things are. See, and you can start your drawing in a variety of ways. You could have started this, just like I've said, with you can block it out like this. Just start blocking things out. Okay. And then you can just start getting more and more specific, or you can start by parts. There's a variety of ways that you can approach a drawing, and you should experiment with them and see whichever one you're more comfortable with. And as a matter of fact, you may find that you may vary it according to whatever you're drawing. Okay? So here I am, I'm drawing the tail here. And as I draw this tail, I'm thinking about proportion, and I'm thinking about form. In other words, I am seeing this tail like so. You see what I'm saying? I'm feeling this tubular or cylindrical form. In other words, I'm seeing it like this, but just with a curve. That's how I'm seeing it. All right. Now, here's the body. The body is just simply, an ovoid shape like that. That's how I see it. Okay. going to do now is I'm going to establish a light source. Okay, so am I going to say the light is coming from the front or the back, or let's just say I'm going to have my light source coming from the top, okay, just the top front, like this. So what does that mean? I'm going to have light source coming from top left, so that means everything but the shadow is going to go according to, because light travels in a straight line, and I have one primary light source, so light is going to be going this way, so I'm going to have all the shadows down here. So I can start framing that in. So like that. See, here's the tail. I'm saying the tail is going to be in shadow down here. The leg is going to be in shadow back here. I can say, well, the leg, the lower leg is going to have shadow down here. The foot is going to have paws or whatever, going to have shadows down here. See, I'm making sure the light is consistent. See, this comes all the way around. Shadow, shadow. And I can even make, see, since the light is coming in, I'm going to show you how to use solid black. I'm going to put all of this leg in shadow. I'm going to put this arm in shadow because I'm saying the insides of this is not getting any light because it's facing this way. See? Everything that's facing this way is going to be in shadow. Whatever is facing, as this form turns around, is going to get more brightly lit. All right? And that's how I'm going to treat it. Inside the mouth is going to be in shadow. Down here may be in shadow. Up here is going to be in light. The jaws, I can just put that in shadow because it will be consistent. The neck, of course, down here will be in shadow. And all I have to do now is just work this area, as I told you, where the light and shadow meets. And that will be where I will exaggerate the texture, so you can see and feel the realism, okay? And of course, just like I'd mentioned in my tutorial on creating realistic texture, what I'll do is also break the contour to reflect the texture that's inside. Right, so hopefully that gave you some insight, guys, and you can apply that in your own drawing. Regardless of whatever you're doing, try to incorporate and be aware of all that's involved. All right, and that's it.